And welcome back to Shovicks Sports Hits. I'm Cory
I am Austin.
in the Shovicks Sports Shit, actually. So we're getting into Shovicks Sports Hits. But first, we had a huge jump in numbers. We appreciate all the new listeners we have. Just going through the list, it looks like we've added Texas. We got a lot of states, so I'm not going to read them all off. But thank you again for listening. Hopefully, we can continue to provide you guys with some knowledge and just some fun sports talk, and keep it going, keep the momentum riding through the football season and into college basketball this winter, and we kind of go from there. What do you got, bro?
Yeah, appreciate it. Obviously, we're here for you guys. So basically everything else you said. Hope to keep the momentum going. Hope to grow it. Hope to get some more people on here soon. It's always, for me, the most enjoyable. But yeah, just keep moving forward. People share us and enjoy it and throw out some ideas and topics and interact and everything in between. So just looking forward to see where we end up.
Perfect. So we'll get into the hits of the week. Number 3, Royals lost last week. Tough series against the Yankees. I think it was actually a lot better than what it shows. You can't walk 20 plus batters and expect to win games. Fell a little short. I think there's certain parts of the lineup / pitching staff that got exposed in a good way. It gives them an idea of what they need to do and make sure that they take care of in the offseason. Fuck the Yankees, go Cleveland in this series, or anything, just not the Yankees winning the World Series. But Cleveland's not off to a hot start for us. Maybe they can be reversed this year and they can come back from 3-1.
Ha, you shit. That's referencing the Cubs coming back. Anyway, to throw that out there. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of expected for the Yankees to win. I mean, truth be told, top to bottom, that's just higher paid, higher talent, more talent, deeper talent, everything across the board. But there's no moral victories, but it was nice to see that, like, the Royals kind of just got worked. Like, they were in every game, had opportunities every game, and at least kind of proved that they belong there. And I think you nailed it that it's never good to be exposed, especially when it comes to being in the playoffs and like win or go home situation, but it lets them know what to work on. So yeah, you hate to lose, but kind of like what we said with our show, ride the momentum into next year, improve what needs to be improved, work on what needs to be worked on, and come back even better next year. And then more importantly, fuck the Yankees.
Good luck to Cole Reagan, Seth Lugo, Freddie Fermin, and Bobby Witt, Gold Glove finalist. Freddie, huh?
My boy.
If he can get that, dude, that would be absolutely amazing. No one on the team deserves it more than Freddie. Pretty much a no name guy the last year and a half.
Watch your mouth.
I think. Hang on.
I've loved Freddie before people knew Freddie. Okay.
Yeah, well, he started coming on. He started coming on pretty strong last year when Sal had a couple of injuries, and then he just made it really hard for them to take out of the lineup. And then this year, he made it really hard for them to take him out of the lineup. He led the major leagues in strikes stolen. Basically, his framing was best in the majors. I think it was somewhat close to 30% of balls that he was able to frame into strikes. So, I mean, that alone gets you a Gold Glove. So good luck to those guys. And we'll dive into a Royals off season here. Not this month, but we'll get there as we get closer to free agency, because there are some things that they can do and they need to do without absolutely, spending Yankees, Dodgers types cash. They won't, obviously, but
kind of like what they did this year.
Yeah, similar.
But okay, enough to get them to come to
get your payroll over $100 million. It's okay to do that. So let's go to number 2. Big trade yesterday. Devontae leaves the Raiders, goes to the Jets. Amari Cooper leaves the Browns and goes to the Bills. We like the Amari deal. Who knows what's going on? Again, another Cleveland team. It sucks because Cleveland, kind of hamstring tied with that Deshaun deal. I know if they had their choice, they probably would have kept Flacco. just based on what he was able to do last year. I know it's a boost this week. They get Chubb back. But it's still a quarterback who's just not performing where he's at. So he gets to leave that one and actually go to Josh Allen. I think it's going to help the young receiver, Keon Coleman. And, you still have Tupac Shakur. And then you have, Curtis Samuel and then the two tight ends. But obviously it's Kincaid's tight end one for them. But I think it's a huge, huge addition. And you're getting a very, very dependable bet.
I mean, you're getting, I don't know, I'm looking at it from Amari's point of view, and like, I think the very first time we're going to see Amari in a Bills uniform, he's just going to look so happy. I mean, think about what he's had to go through, like the Raiders, the Cowboys, the Browns. Like, now he gets to just go to the Bills where they're crazy about football. Obviously, they like when you win, but even when you lose, they're still fucking absolutely insane in Buffalo. Like, plain and simple. We're going to see like one of the happiest people we've ever seen when we see Amari take the field as a Buffalo Bill. With all that aside, I think you nailed it. It's just a good weapon for Josh Allen. I think it's a good vet to have around some of the young guys. And then just from a talent standpoint, when he has a quarterback and he's at a functional organization, the dude balls out, plain and simple. Like when the Browns used Flacco last year and it was actually a quarterback who made them competitive in games, Amari Cooper balled out. Like,
I think he's got to fix the drops a little bit. But those are going to happen.
Yeah,
they're going to happen. The ball. He's not one of those guys that's going to sit there and he's not a burner. He's not going to burn, but he's a good route runner. He finds ways to get separation. Lucky for him, he has a quarterback who has a hose. He'll get him the ball. And even though he's not a burner, he still gets the yak. So, huge fan of that move. And then obviously we know about Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers. You were saying earlier that before we got on here about it being an absolute steal for the red zone, just based on their chemistry in Green Bay and what he's able to do. And there's so many different options that he can do in the red zone, whether it's the fade, slant, the back shoulder. They just know each other. They get each other. I don't know if it saves the season for the Jets.
No, there's more issues than that.
Yeah, you keep your quarterback happy, I suppose. Keep letting your coaching staff, the wrong guys on the coaching staff, be the fall guy. But yeah, I mean, so those were the trades. Cam Akers obviously goes back to the Vikings. Do you have any comments on Davante or Cam Akers?
No, I think the Davante trade. I mean, these guys are a few years older now. I don't think you can expect Davante Adams. He might game one just out of pure like joy. But to think that he's going to be that like 13 catch, 140 yards, 3 touchdown guy every week, that's not going to happen anymore. I still think they ride Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson down the field. I do think the huge impact is going to be the red zone because those are two dudes. He's still an elite route runner. He still has elite hands. And Rodgers with time still knows how to put the ball where it needs to. So I definitely think and this is just from like a fantasy perspective, like Davante Adams will still be that 5 or 6 catch, 70, 80 yards. But I think it's mostly going to be like 2 or 3 touchdowns. That's where it's going to come. But I don't think it'll save their season. There's a lot more issues, dysfunctional issues within that entire organization that'll be hard to overcome. And then absolutely no comment on Cam Akers. I was a smartass when I mentioned that yesterday about being the big trade, but like, best case, he might be a practice squad guy because they still have like Jones and Chandler. I guess he might compete with Myles Gaskin for the last RB spot on the active roster, but it's a dude familiar with the system, so it never hurts to get a guy like that for depth, organizational depth for basically nothing. So I don't think we'll see Cam Akers probably play at all, but still a trade that happened.
Yeah, maybe that's a sign to come for the trade deadline. I know there's a lot of names floating out there right now for some teams. Browns could still be a seller, and you got Njoku, some of those guys that they could move. I saw DeAndre Hopkins' name maybe floated out there a little bit. So you never know. I mean, there's little trades that typically do happen. They don't get too wild and crazy like baseball trades do, even though baseball trades have gone down the last few years.
The NBA trades are what's been taken off.
Yeah. So we'll dive into number 1 on our hits this week. Big basketball poll came out this weekend. I'm not going to read off the whole top 25, but we'll read off the top 10.
Read off the top
So
one because that's really all that matters.
that's really all that matters. But number 10, Arizona. Number 9, North Carolina. 8, Baylor. 7, Duke. 6, Gonzaga. 5, Iowa State. 4, Houston. 3, UConn. 2, Alabama. Number 1, KU. So KU is going to play half of the top 10. We do know that for a fact.
Top 10, wasn't it?
Well, because half of it's the Big 12, and then you're going to throw in UNC's a home game this year.
UConn, do we play them again?
I don't remember if UConn's on the schedule. I don't think so. But either way, we
and an exhibition with Duke, don't we?
Arkansas, I believe.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, if you follow KU basketball, you obviously know this is nothing new as far as schedules go. They got a lot of things to bounce back from last year. Bill Self obviously reloads the roster, out with the old and with what he wants. Usually not a big portal guy himself, but he literally went to the transfer portal absolutely hard, bringing in guards, bringing in forwards, mixing a couple high school freshmen or seniors that are coming in as true freshmen. So it's going to be a new look roster. You still got KJ back, which is huge. DeJuan Harris, another, that's big. The wild card's obviously got to be Hunter Dickinson. Got to play defense, got to play better defensively, and not go 1 for 20 something from the 3-point line in March.
I mean, after what they did to us last year and hurt our feelings, I'm still skeptical on being rated number 1 again. But when you return, the amount of people you return, you have a recruiting class and transfer portals and all the, the transfers that you have. I don't think there's any argument for KU be number 1. I'd prefer not to be in that spot. No, it's never been. I always enjoy the underdog role, but we never really get that with KU. I think they got to step up defensively. That's where it all starts. That's really what made Bill a Hall of Fame coach to begin with. And they kind of just got to get back to that. And you're right, it starts with Hunter Dickinson. You don't have to be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, but you do have to be better. I was really exposed in March and a little bit in conference play where just put him in that pick and roll, and he can't defend it. Like he just couldn't. So we're not asking for you to come out and be Dikembe Mutombo, RIP. Just come out and be average. Don't cost us defensively. Like kind of just hold your own. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Mostly some of the freshmen, but I don't know if the players play like with the energy and anger that Bill has shown just in some conference or press conferences and stuff. Should be a fun year because Bill was not happy with last year at all whatsoever. And I hope the players feel the same way. I think I've mentioned it for years now that KU just doesn't play with energy anymore. They come out flat and come out dead, and it shows.
Yeah, and it's not like you added cupcake teams to the conference. You added Arizona. Again, they're really, really good until it gets to March. Then they fall off, obviously. But they're still a good team. They still have bigs. Houston obviously worked us last year. They're good. Baylor's always tough. But even like the K-States, the Iowa States, West Virginia, every team is a challenge because you have to play them on the road as also. So again, we'll have a little preview. We'll go more in depth of it soon. Late nights, 6 days away. Will actually be 6 or 7. Either way, with late nights coming up. So we'll drop a little preview one of these nights, and we'll go through a schedule. We won't predict the schedule. We'll just kind of go through some of the matchups. We're obviously excited about all the games. KU basketball is a little different than KU football, obviously. While, yes, we were excited about KU football, the basketball has been kind of the mainstay as far as what we've paid attention to the most when it comes to basketball and college sports in general. And that's not a dig at KU football or college football. It's just, when you have a team who's consistently on top and good, it's fun to watch and fun to talk about. So we'll get into that. So that wraps up the Shovicks Sports Hits for this week. We'll bring some new ones to you next week. Now let's dive into some football. Some Chiefs had an easy week, a bye week. Good for them to get prepared and ready. I don't know. They always get a bye week, and then they always come out and play a good team. But Andy Reid obviously never loses after a bye week, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But it seems like anytime he has a bye, they have a good matchup coming out of that bye. So as a Chiefs fan, I know if you guys feel really, really good, even though it's on the road, it doesn't matter. You've had a bye week. Andy's had time to prepare, had time to draw up a few Andy specials, get the guys healthy again, and just kind of recharge. I know it's never ideal to have a bye week this early in the season, but you get it out of the way and you're undefeated still. So we'll dive into the Chiefs 49ers here in a little bit. Let's talk about the shit show that is the Denver Broncos. Second half, we won, obviously. We're a second half team. Chargers aren't shit in the second half, so we're not going to even talk about the first half. We're going to go straight into the second half. Just kidding. First half, there was nothing the Chargers couldn't do. I think they were 90% third down conversion rate. They scored on all first 4 possessions. Whether it was a field goal or a touchdown, either way, they still scored on their first 4 possessions. Jumped out 20-0. It's very, very, very hard in the NFL to come out of a 20-0 hole, especially when you're a young team like the Broncos. They gave a good effort in the second half, but again, that's not what we're about. We need to find a way to start putting together 4 quarters. Justin Herbert actually came into the game averaging like 180 passing yards a game, maybe a little lower. He had that in the first quarter, I believe, or first half for sure, because he finished with 237 and a touchdown. They had 38 carries as a team for 128. Jim Harbaugh making his mark. 38 runs to 34 passes. Does that sound like Jim Harbaugh?
That sounds like a little too much passing, honestly, still. But yeah, I don't know. I'd be curious to see how the next matchup goes with them, because second half, I don't want to say Denver outplayed the Chargers, but they definitely looked a little better in the second half. You're spot on. Very few teams can come back from 20-0 that quickly when it's 20-0, let alone kind of a rebuilding-ish roster offense with a rookie quarterback. I do think it was promising that they were kind of able to make it a game a little bit. Shows that there's a little bit of fight on the young team. You get down 20-0 like that, it's very easy to kind of just fold. And I know, like I said it earlier, like there's no moral victories, but there is positives that you can find even in your losses. And for me, I mean, you still had people who played well. You didn't roll over and just die. You try to make it a game. So there's going to be plenty more games like this for Denver, unfortunately for Denver fans. I mean, that's just the nature of what they're working with right now. But again, it's you want wins in the end, but you're still seeing progress, even in what you call shit shows. With the little win streak you guys were on, I know it was kind of like, hey, like maybe a wild card's possible, which it still is. But the reality of what Denver's working with right now is you'll probably see more of what you just saw than you will 3-game win streaks, at least for this year. So it's not bad. I still feel like this is a better team than what you guys have had to put up with since Peyton Manning left. No moral victories, or like we just want to win. But at the same time, like it could definitely be worse with what like a rookie quarterback and a bunch of new players, coach. Like it could be worse.
So Sayer Bedinger, I'm sorry if I botched your name if you happen to listen to this, but I like following you on Twitter. He does a lot of Broncos stuff, covers and writes. So he made a list in the first half. Marvin Mims drops first and goal. Javonte fumbles on a field. They were in field goal territory, and Javonte fumbled. Quinn Miners had a holding penalty on a 50-yard pass play that took him from being at like the 10-yard line all the way back to their end of the field, essentially. And then the second half drive gets past the 50. Javonte Williams drops an easy screen pass on 2nd and 10. Points wiped off the board. And then the 2-point conversion attempt, Javonte blocks nobody. He blocked the air. I didn't like that play call to begin with, but I do think if he does, and going back and seeing that play, if he actually does at least maybe put himself in front just to slow the guy down, I think that may give Marvin a chance to actually hit the pylon. Either way, I didn't like that play design, so I'm not necessarily going to put that one on Javonte, but you do got to block one way or the other. You can't just block the air. That's kind of what I That happens on College Football 25. Like if you're playing it on the PlayStation, you block the air. And then Jaquan McMillan holding wiped out a fumble recovery. That was still a questionable holding, but it was a holding either way. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. No excuse. And then another one that was put out by Jordan Lopez, another fun follow. Bo Nix accounted for 216 yards passing and 61 rushing yards. That was basically 88% of the Broncos' offensive yards. That's not success. That's not a recipe for success. You got to find a way to get your running backs involved. I think Sean Payton hinted at using Audric Estime a lot more tomorrow now that he's back. That's a Sean Payton style running back, a bruiser. He'll get between the tackles. But you got to find a way. When we've said it, the last 3 weeks now, the easiest way to help the rookie quarterbacks is the run game. Why has Caleb Williams just been taking off all of a sudden? It's because they've been able to establish the run game. Swift's not just burning everybody. They're not getting 8, 9, 10 yards a carry, but they're still sticking with the run and it's still taking pressure off. You're still getting into second manageable, third and shorts, and then that's setting yourself up. You're staying ahead of the sticks. You're not picking up stupid penalties. Garrett Bowles, please quit holding, quit jumping offside, like no false starts. So again, there's 2 things that I've heard the last 3 days listening to Denver media, and it's absolutely atrocious, and it's actually kind of annoying, and it's embarrassing as a fan base. Sean Payton does not need to give up play calling, for one. His resume speaks for itself, and it's super sad that Denver sports radio, there's people saying Sean Payton should consider taking a step back from play calling. I will not listen to you guys anymore on my drive home. Number 2, there's absolutely no reason Bo Nix should be benched for Jarrett Stidham. What are you getting out of this? You're embarrassing yourself as a fan base. 2, I want your job for the fact that people are paying you guys to say stupid stuff like this. Whether it's for clicks or whatever you're trying to accomplish by saying this stuff, it's absolutely astonishing to me. And honestly, it's kind of pushing me away from wanting to listen to Denver media much. I don't know. I guess we should probably – Patty had a bad game a couple weeks ago. Maybe Andy should think about putting Carson Wentz in because Patrick only had like 150 yards.
No, see, I mean, and every fan base has them. Now, I know Kansas City fans are never going to say Patty should be benched, but the fans, and it goes to what I said earlier, like there's some fans where it's win or nothing. So when you're not winning, somebody has to be to blame. When it's people who lose to the Chiefs, it's the ref's fault. When in reality, officiating is dog shit for every team in every sport at every level all the time. I think he told me one of the baseball games umpires was 94% correct, and I fucking lost my mind. And you're like, well, that's MLB average, and I'm like, but it's the playoff. Like your expectation should be like 99.9. Like it's top anyway. But you're gonna have those fans if you're not winning. Somebody's to blame. Knee-jerk reactions. Those are the fans who don't accept, like they don't realize what the reality is, and it's you have a rookie quarterback, you have a lot of new playmakers, you've had some injuries, things are fine. Like this isn't a Super Bowl year. Let's be honest. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Chiefs fan. Okay, I'm not trying to be a hater. That's just the reality of the situation for Denver. I don't think you need to make knee-jerk reactions by changing play callers, benching your fucking rookie quarter. I think Bo Nix has actually played phenomenal. Like you just said, a bunch of things that happened weren't on him. Holding calls, fumbles, more penalties, drops. Those aren't on Bo Nix. Those aren't on play calling. That's just players not doing their job. Again, I guess you can say that's Sean Payton's fault for not coaching them up. It has nothing to do with play calling. And it has nothing to do with Bo Nix. So I think there's just the fans who, if you're not winning, you get upset and somebody has to be to blame. Something has to change. And in reality, I think you want to win, obviously.
Always.
Yeah, I mean, you're not a sports fan because you want to see your team be okay. But at the end of the day, you have to see what reality is. And the reality is this is kind of a see what Denver has kind of year.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of turnover for players who aren't performing. You'll see people like Javonte Williams. He might lose a lot of playing time or all playing time to people like Estime. Is it because Estime's better? Maybe, maybe not. But you're going to see what you got because Javonte's not getting the job done. Fumbling, dropping screen passes. You have to see what you have. You're remaining competitive in a league that a lot of teams aren't. Like, bad teams are not staying competitive in the NFL. Plain and simple. But Denver's finding a way to make it a game every week, and I think that's a good starting point for what's going on with Denver. So you do have media people, they're supposed to say outrageous shit to have you click their story, watch their video, listen to their audio, talk about it, which we are. So, like, they're doing their job. But at the same time, like, somebody in the media, like, especially local, can somebody just be, like, real? You know what I
And
mean? Don't
that's not
freak
fair.
out.
There's still plenty out there that are still realistic that I love. And like those guys that I was reading off those guys, they put out, it's not like they're homers, like they're putting out legit stuff, being realistic. And, he's sitting at 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's after starting with 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
I think
So
Patty's, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions?
they're very close as far as, I think Patty still obviously has a couple hundred more yards, but the touchdown interceptions are right there. But he's still running the ball really well. He shouldn't have to run, but some of those plays he was making out of the pocket was, hey, awesome. He's at least pocket aware. I'm sure he'd love to not have to worry about that and be able to step into a throw here and there. Another positive, from the end of the game, the second half of that game, was Vele and Franklin, 2 rookies. Again, guys that you bring in to help help the receivers out a little bit. I don't know why Vele was inactive. I know he had some hurt ribs there the first couple of games, but the last game or two he had been a healthy scratch, so I was kind of curious on that. Troy Franklin's the one that has to be that guy. Him and Marvin Mims, I still think, are going to be huge because they're supposed to be your speed deep guys. Marvin hasn't quite figured that part out. Troy Franklin started off a little shaky, but we started seeing some more separation from those 2 guys in the second half. So hopefully that builds. And you have a chance to take these next 2 games, honestly. New Orleans is beat up. They're missing a good chunk of their offense. So you got to steal one tomorrow night. And then you play the Panthers at home. And I swear to God, if you lose to the Panthers at home, it's not going to look too good. But if you can head into a 5-3 stretch when you go to Baltimore and to Kansas City, you're still sitting fine because you can still lose those 2 games and be 5-5 and you're still sitting just fine. But it's a brutal stretch after once you hit that mark, and you're going to have to find ways to, again, stay competitive, and maybe you can squeeze out a surprise win.
I mean, and the expectations were low for Denver coming into the season, per these said experts. I think they were projected anywhere from 3 to 5 wins across different platforms and stuff. So the fact that we're just like a third of the way through the season and you already have your 3 wins, like, I know, again, it's not everything, but they're doing better than what was expected. You'd like to think that they're not going to finish. If they finish with 3 wins, we might revisit everything.
Oh God, yeah.
But
Yeah.
but again, we're just going to evaluate what's happened so far, and I don't know. I see a lot of promise with it. Look, you could be the Raiders right now, okay? And you're not. You ever need to just feel good about your team, feel good about anything in your life, just look at the Raiders.
Well, at this rate, the Cowboys too.
True that. We them boys. No, but dog's heard. Yeah, no, Denver's fine. Like, even if they lose tomorrow and beat the Panthers, like, you should beat the Panthers, okay? Like, I don't have any. I don't want to do an episode with you or be in a house with you if Denver loses to the Panthers. I don't want to talk it into existence, but I kind of do as a Chiefs fan want it to happen. No, but I don't know. It's not a Broncos fan, so I can't sit here and say if I'd be happy or sad about what they've put out there so far. I'm trying to view it from the lens of just like a normal football fan. What expectations were, what you're working with. And truth be told, I think I would be pretty stoked with what I've seen so far.
Yeah, it comes with the rookie quarterback too, right? You're going to have your peaks. You're going to have you're going to have your holes. It's fine. It's again, just because he's going to look bad certain games and good in other, that doesn't mean he's not going to be a good quarterback in the long run. You're still looking at year 3. Okay, let's be realistic here. Year 3, they're going to have more money next year. They're going to be able to piece up not all of the gaps and holes that we need on this team, but they're going to be able to piece some of it next year. Then the year after, that's when you're really going to start seeing, hey, now we can really piece together something. Year 3. But if you can be consistent this year, maybe squeeze in a wild card, cool. Or get close. Be in the hunt. Do your thing. Show progress. Give yourself something to look forward to in the off season, because then, hey, we could use a tight end. We can use some offensive linemen. And then, hey, we could probably use a linebacker or two. And then next season, continue to grow, continue to get better. This time, maybe get into the division race. Maybe push the Chiefs for a little something. Year 2 might be a little too soon. But again, you're still getting in, you're still making progress. And then year 3, then let's really, really talk. All right. So again, I'm asking as a Broncos fan to other Bronco fans that I know listen to this, just relax.
Yeah, don't start a fire where it's not needed. Like
I promise you guys, it's going to be fine. We're going to be super, super high one week, and then the next week it's going to be, oh no. But just take it. Okay? Just take it. Take it as it comes. All right? We still have a good coaching staff. I'm actually really excited to see how tomorrow goes. I think Sean really wants to beat the shit out of the Saints. I know it's a homecoming. Drew Brees is getting his number retired, going up in the rafters. Sean's ego is Sean's ego, and I believe he wants to rain on that parade. I know he loves Drew Brees, and he'll always have love for Drew Brees. No one can take away what those two guys did in New Orleans. Absolutely phenomenal. Sean's petty. Sean's super petty. He wants to show, hey, I'm doing just fucking fine over here.
What's going to be awesome is if he does it in a way to where it's also a breakout revenge game for Lil Jordan Humphrey. I don't even know if he's on the roster anymore.
Yes, he's one of our leading receivers.
Yeah, so it would be even more awesome if it's like Lil Jordan comes out and has like 12 catches, 200 yards, and like 4 touchdowns, just to be like, see what y'all could have had with me and Lil Jordan Humphrey.
And it could be Bo Nix's breakout game. You never know. I mean, I don't think so, but I do think we got to start fast. That's either way. So you can see how the first few drives go, and that's going to give you an indication. This is a place where it's not okay to fall behind early. New Orleans is still a tough place to play. It's loud.
Prime time.
And then you add the Drew Brees factor to this, and Sean Payton being on the other sideline. It could be disaster. But I do have a good feeling about tomorrow. I do think Denver's going to win this game. I think Sean Payton has a few things that he's been saving for this game, just to remind them that he's still coaching and that he still is good at what he does. Honestly, there's not much to really get into on this game, just for the fact that no Carr, no Olave or Shaheed, no Taysom Hill. Their offense is beat up. I did like what I saw. Spencer Rattler showed some signs last week, so I know they got their ass handed to them by the Bucs, but Spencer Rattler, they may have something here. And I encourage you guys to go back to listen to our QB preview in the draft. We actually were talking about Spencer Rattler being pretty high on our board, on our list of one of those guys who could be sneaky good. He just got to get out of his own way. That's kind of what held him back in college. He was at Oklahoma.
There was just so much hype surrounding him. Like he just he just has to step away from that. Like just go play football. I mean, that dude was, I think, from his junior year in high school and on, just anointed the next prodigy. Once he kind of got away from Oklahoma, kind of got out of that hyped up, he actually performed really well once he got out of there. And I agree. I like what I saw from Spencer Rattler. I'm not with you. I actually think the Saints absolutely dominate this game. The only reason I say that is because New Orleans in prime time is probably a top 2 or 3 NFL stadium. But then you combine that with the Drew Brees retirement, that place is going to be probably louder than it's ever been outside of when they returned after Hurricane Katrina. Do you think the Saints are going to start fast? I think it's going to be another week like last week for Denver, strictly just because everything is going against them. still think Denver finds a way to make it a game, but I think they're just it's gonna be too much too fast to start that game. That place is insane. And it's up there with Arrowhead and Seattle as far as primetime games go. It's going to be rocking, and it's going to be hard. I know they have a lot of backups, but at the same time, I think the fans are going to carry that game for the first, I don't know, half, maybe first quarter. The fans are really going to decide it. So it could be the Chiefs fan in me talking, like how Arrowhead carries the Chiefs sometimes in primetime games. I think it's the same thing in New Orleans. I'm not sitting here saying it's going to be a 51 to 14 game by any means, but
it could.
It could. Don't get me wrong, but it'll be hard to do that when you have like your top 37 playmakers out. But they still have Kamara. Rattler still looked okay. I think it's just going to be a little too much going on tomorrow. Like too many storylines and outside things to where, again, Bo could prove it. This could be a really big growing up moment for Bo Nix, to where he comes out and just is poised as shit, looks unfazed, unrattled. But nothing against Bo Nix. I just don't see that happening from a rookie quarterback. Like, it's going to be so much going on tomorrow.
Yeah, no, that's fair. My only hope is maybe that pressure gets to Spencer Rattler a little much.
True.
Because on the flip side, you can be too amped. Now you want to make the big.
He's a rookie quarterback too, right?
Right. So he's going to want to make, I want to squeeze the ball through that just to get this home crowd going.
That's fair.
Shit, I just threw it to the safety. So, I mean, I see your side of it. I really do. And I lean towards, it could be a bad game. I'm not going to sit here and act like Denver's, they're ready to go. I think all around, we deserve a good Thursday night game for one, honestly. And I hope so. I hope it's one of those that I can watch from start to finish. Either way, Saints defense is still intact for the most part. I think the Honey Badge is still going to play. I think I saw he got some practice times in, so I know he had a hurt arm. So, and he's actually been playing really well this year. Weirdly enough. And then Demario Davis is still one of the best linebackers in football. We will debate anybody and everybody on that all day, every day. You can't convince us that he's not a top 3 linebacker in the NFL, because he is. So
he's easily the most underrated, without a doubt.
Yeah. So I'm hoping for a good game. Again, I see your side of it, and then I counter it with hopefully Spencer Rattler tries to do too much himself to try to, let's get the talk going about, hey, should Derek Carr even be a quarterback when he comes back? He will. But obviously Spencer Rattler's like, hey, this is a primetime game. Eyes are on me. Everyone's tuned into prime. We're watching, so hopefully that makes a mistake. But they will rely on Alvin Kamara. They will run the football. They will get Alvin Kamara going in the passing game too. So, again, let's just hope the rookie quarterback makes a few more mistakes than Denver's rookie quarterback.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. As a fan of neither team in this game, I really just hope for a good Thursday night football game. Looking before the season started, this is actually one of the ones where we kind of chalked it up to what it ends up going to be, like a revenge game. Little did we know that it's going to also be Sean Payton's poster child getting fucking put in the Ring of Honor or whatever they do in New Orleans. So this is one of the ones that we thought could be a good one, just with all the extra storylines. But yeah, I forgot, Spencer Rattler is also a rookie quarterback, and it's going to be a bright light for him as well. The crowd shouldn't be as ruckus when he's on the field. Hopefully they give him a little more silence than Bo Nix and lets him do his thing. But yeah, I'm with you. I think the rookie quarterback that can make the fewest mistakes. A lot of times when we're talking quarterbacks, it's which one can make more plays. Well, I think in this situation with the quarterbacks that we're dealing with, it is which ones can make the fewer mistakes. I think both quarterbacks going to have to pull out their Alex Smith cap and kind of just be game managers and don't lose it for your team. I think that's a fair expectation. So if that's the expectations, it could also just be a very shit game for just anyone involved. So really what we're saying is it can be a really shit game or it can be a really good game. We're really covering all ends of the spectrum here. So I love environments like that, at the very least, I'm as a no fan of nobody, I'm gonna enjoy that part. I love environments like that, so that could end up being the only thing I enjoy in the whole game. So here's a hoping we can hop on next week and actually have a really awesome game to discuss.
Well, if it's not the Broncos game, let's go to the Chiefs. Another game with some storylines to it, just because it's a rematch of Super Bowl. I love this matchup. I don't know why. It's always fun, but it's the regular season too. So again, this is probably the 49ers Super Bowl. Like the Bills and Bengals and whatnot. But no CMC. No, I haven't seen anything on Mason yet. I know you have him on your fantasy team, so I'm not sure what the reports have been. I know first reports usually come out today on that end. So, but I think the huge part of this is, and it's usually you can overlook it a little bit, but when it comes to bye weeks, you can't overlook it with the Chiefs. Honestly, I don't know what it is with Andy and what he's able to do, but the dude is an absolute genius, mastermind of bye weeks. It's a rarity that he loses. I don't have the exact record, but I just know that it's a lot to a little.
I think he's only lost once coming out of a bye. I could be wrong. I know you'll see it during the Chiefs game. It's something they will absolutely talk about. But I do believe it's one or two losses out of a bye week, which for a dude who's been coaching for a billion years, it is impressive.
Yeah, so let's get into the first part. And I think they absolutely deserve to be the first ones that we talk about in this game, and this is Chiefs defense. We talked a couple weeks ago, or maybe even last week, about typically the Chiefs defense starts slow, right? So the first couple weeks, it's been not this season, dude. They've been literally from game one to now to the bye week. They're getting they got some rest. They got some banged up guys. They're going to be able to they were been off their feet, refreshed. So yeah, we're going to talk about the Chiefs defense first and how they match up. We saw it in the Super Bowl. I think Spags overwhelmed them a little bit on a few of the plays when it mattered. Again, it doesn't matter the situation. It doesn't matter what it calls for. He's going to blitz you. He's going to blitz. I do have concerns with the 49ers if they don't have their running backs. That is a huge, their offense relies on that run game, right? So now that feeds into you can be as aggressive as you want now. Now you can make Brock throw. Now you got to make Brock beat you. Do you have any concerns in one area of your defense with the matchups with the 49ers?
No, I actually think it doesn't matter who the running back is. The Chiefs defense surprisingly has been really good against the run this year. And it's not like you can say we haven't played teams that have ran. I mean, Falcons are run heavy, and they didn't really do well on the run against us. Saints, they rely on the run. We stuffed their run game. We played the Ravens. We did kind of stop them, but the Ravens, per usual against us, stopped themselves in the run game. I'm not too concerned. I think practice one, Mason was in a non-contact jersey, and then he got in a little bit of limited work today. So I think he's trending towards playing. Now, full workload or not, maybe not. That Garendo dude came in after the injury and actually performed well. So they might give him a few extra totes along the way. My concern, again, George Kittle can't cover tight ends. It's plain and simple. I think we'll match up okay against their run game. I think we'll do okay against their receivers. Our corners have actually played surprisingly decent and gotten better each week, but we still can't cover tight ends. So obviously, if there's one area of concern, it's George Kittle. He can't cover tight ends, and then he's one of the best tight ends in football. I think he might actually, per fantasy purposes, be the best tight end in football this year so far. So that is an area that concerns me. It goes to what you said. I think it'll help us cover him a little bit more if they don't have a run game established, because a lot of his stuff comes on, play action bootlegs and kind of those crossing routes where the linebackers step up a little bit. So I do think continuing to stop the run will help. But George Kittle still just terrifies the shit out of me because he is he's good enough as a tight end where he can be the only dude who does anything, and that'll be good enough for the Niners to win.
Yeah, so I think if I had to pick something, I think it's that I still think we need to talk about the second and third corner, just based on Juwan Jennings is having a really good year. Um, you know, him and Brock have started to kind of pick things to put things together. I think you may see Debo. They may use some more gadgets with Debo if they do need some help in the run game. I still don't think that affects the Chiefs too much. It could, but at the same time, I still have questions on the corners, and I think Jennings could be kind of a sneaky X factor. I think everyone knows about what George can possibly do. But take George out, take George away. I think the next thing we'd have to look at is, can those guys cover Juwan Jennings? Ayuk should be fine. Debo, that's where we start getting a little hairy, right? You only got one McDuffie, and that's not to say the other guys haven't been playing well, but they're still vulnerable. There's still a little bit of that factor to it. What do they try to do to get maybe Debo out in the flats with your linebackers, or get Debo lined up with, a linebacker on a wheel? They do those gadget plays just as well. You'll see Juszczyk run a fullback wheel. You'll see Juszczyk run some weird thing, and he's going to end up taking 50 yards. So they're still creating, and I think that's what's so intriguing about this matchup with these two coaches. They both can draw up certain things that not other teams will do. I'm still going to give the edge to the Chiefs defense, just because I think at the end of the day, McCaffrey does make a huge difference, and I think Mason. But you got to have Mason completely healthy too, and I still think he's going to be, not fully there.
Yeah, no, I think I've picked against the Chiefs a couple times already, so I feel stupid for doing it, but I still think this game is going to mean a little bit more to the Niners than the Chiefs. Kind of what you went with your opening statement,
yeah,
it's their Super Bowl. That's why, when the Bengals beat us in the regular season, whatever, Bills beat us in the regular season, whatever. But the regular season matchups for those teams against the Chiefs always seem to mean a little bit more to the Niners. So I think the Niners they're going to have a few more things up their sleeves than the Chiefs. I mean, I'm not saying the Chiefs are going to go out and not care and not try to win. That's not what I'm saying at all, but I think it's just going to mean a little bit more to everyone in the Niners organization. So I think they're going to have just a few more tricks up their sleeves, a few more gadget things up their sleeves. I think this is also, it'll be a good time for the Chiefs offense to try to put their shit together. Had a couple extra weeks now to deal with Rashee Rice being gone, game plan, how to operate without him. It's one of those, I don't like picking against the Chiefs. I do think this is one that the Niners squeak out, because I think I trust their offense to put up a little bit more against our defense than our offense against their defense right now. I know we're undefeated, but we've still had iffy tackle play. Iffy tackle play against the Niners is not good, plain and simple. Not to say they can't show up and just to beat everyone. The refs might be on our side as well, so that could help. So I just wanted to get that out of the way now. The refs will be on our side, so that always benefits. I don't know. The Niners have to get shit going. So not only do I think it means a little bit more to them, but I think they need it a little bit more. They've had a rough start. I'm not saying this game will make or break them, but the season will be kind of over before you know it. If they don't kind of turn it around and right the ship a little bit, which is really all they need to do until CMC gets back. But you can't dig too big of a hole and then just expect CMC to be a savior, especially because he has two legs that aren't necessarily fully healthy. So you never know when one will just, I don't want to say give out again because I don't want to wish that on anyone, but you never know when one will present itself as an issue. I think the Niners squeak it out, but I do think, and I don't know how the fuck this isn't a primetime game, but I do think the Niners pull it out a little bit in a really good game, which they always have good games. Going back to the Jimmy G Super Bowl, all the games between these two teams are good. That's what happens when you have good coaches, good talent, good players. So at the very least, just enjoy a good football game.
Yeah, so I think the last couple times I feel like the Chiefs offense was going to get back on track, but then they've stalled in the second half, and they stalled bad. Luckily, you have a defense. You have a good enough defense that it didn't really truly affect that too much. This is a little different. You're on the road against a pretty good offense on a good day. Your offense is going to have to you're going to have to put it together for 4 quarters. Maybe run Kareem Hunt and Carson Steele a little more in the second half. Kareem Hunt looked really good. He actually looks like
get Clyde back though, baby.
True, but Kareem Hunt looked like he was in really good shape. Looked like he thinned out a little bit. He was starting to push Eddie Lacy territory with the Browns, so it's good to see him actually look good, running hard. He looked like the Kareem Hunt that you guys had a few years ago, so that's a good sign. I think you got to use him in the second half and keep the clock running. Usually, it's me telling other teams, "Hey, run the ball against the Chiefs. Like, don't be that team." Well, now this is me asking the Chiefs, run the football in the second half when you're up. Quit trying to stall out. So, I mean, again, you're undefeated, so apparently something's going right. And I think right now it's your defense. So, yeah, I'm not going to pick against the Chiefs on this one. I still think, again, the defense, man.
We're gonna get to see Chris Jones against our boy though.
Yeah, I know.
Let's be honest, that was the difference in the Super Bowl. The 2 touchdown plays that were wide open didn't connect because Chris Jones just blew through the line and just mauled Brock Purdy. It's going to hurt my heart because I want Pooney to do well, but at the same time, like, if him blocking well is like a deciding factor, then I hope he just kind of sucks for a week.
Yeah. So I agree with that. So until I see the Chiefs defense regress, I still think they're going to get this, even if, again, your offense is still not there. And it's weird to say this deep into the season, but it doesn't have to be when your defense is this good. I mean, we've seen good defenses. I mean, Denver had the good defenses back in the day where Peyton Manning could barely score touchdowns, and, Pat's not on that level yet. Pat's still a good quarterback. So no, I'm still taking the Chiefs in this one. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think we're going to get a really good game, kind of like you said. And again, we talked, was it last night? We were saying, how the hell is that not a primetime game? Like,
yeah,
who does? I get it. You want to have Tom Brady at a game. Cool. Not this one.
Yeah, and it not to go untold or anything, especially with, we're talking about 2 good defenses and offenses that are kind of either not fully there or healthy. Kind of an underlying deciding factor could be the kickers. They don't have their starting kicker.
Yep.
And we still have one of the top 2 or 3 kickers in football. So that could come down to what decides it. There's a bunch of little things across the board that could matter, but at the end of the day, it could be who's more successful on special teams.
Here's what I will say: don't kick a field goal in the fourth quarter or in overtime. Okay, go for it on 4th down. Take your chance. You're going to lose either way. If you don't get it, you're going to lose. If you kick a field goal, you're still going to lose. So go for it. I'm challenging you to do that, Shanahan. So yeah, that's kind of how I see the game going. We'll review it next week. Before we get into our fantasy bust and sleepers, I do want to give an update on our boy Austin Booker. Dude looked really good against the Jaguars. He was making plays. 3 tackles, 2 solos. Huh?
Yeah, dude looked like he belonged.
So Brian Baldinger does film review on Twitter every Monday, and he did the Jags and Bears game, and he highlighted Austin Booker. It was a screen pass that Book got blocked, but he literally chased it down, and it was still a very short gain. And it was just talking about his high motor and how he's a rookie playing on a really, really good defense, right? Like, this defense is no joke. Like, they're legit. Especially that D line. Like, they got some ballers on that line. So again, it's awesome, but at the same time, it sucks because I know he could have been back this year and we could absolutely use the dude. But either way, he's in the NFL. He's making plays, and it's beautiful. It's fun to, 1, be able to see it. 2, go to a box score and see his name up there towards the top as far as tackles go as a defensive end. So hats off to him. Wonderful job. And again, like you said, we'll get to see Pooney with Chris Jones this weekend. That'll be fun. Hopefully Poon holds his own. I think it's not an easy task. Lucky for him, Aaron Donald's gone, or he'd have to go up against him twice a season. So Again, love seeing the KU guys. Dorrance hurt, so hopefully Dorrance is back soon. Let's dive into fantasy picks from last week. Not good on my end. I picked Rachaad White to be my sleeper. Dude was out immediately following, and well, there's video and audio evidence of me picking Rachaad White, so I can't come on and say, oh, I didn't pick him, I picked someone else. So that's a massive L on my part. I did not know that he was going to get sick. Okay, not my fault. So I'll take that L, and I'll take it sadly because I felt really good about it. This is the debate that we were having. St. Brown technically finished below his,
well below, okay,
but he still had a touchdown, and he still had some catch. Like I don't remember what it was, but I wasn't going to take it. But we're gonna just say it was a 1-1 week, just based on him finishing below. I don't feel good about this, just so we're aware, because he did still have a touchdown.
yeah, but
then,
you picked him as a bust because he is supposed to be a top 3 or 4 receiver. He was not, and he finished well below his projection. I still think it was a bust.
We should have picked the Cowboys as a whole to be a bust.
No shit, we should use that every week. Bound to be right every week, so.
Yeah, so 1-1 on my end. Tyrone Tracy was your sleeper. Brock Purdy was your bust. You went 1-1. Brock Purdy was, in fact, not a bust. Quite opposite. Looked really, really good against the Seahawks. Tyrone Tracy, dude, they may have something with that. Really soon, I think he could be taking that backfield.
Well, I think it'll be now. Like Singletary getting hurt for a few weeks, open the door. Dude's a former receiver turned running back. I think the only thing he has to work on a little bit, which they don't work on in New York anyway, is pass pro. If the offensive linemen don't have to work on it, why should he? But he's a really good runner between the tackles, and he is an excellent receiver. So I don't think I'm going to be able to use him as a sleeper too much going forward because the secret's out.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get your sleeper and bust for the week.
My bust this week is going to be not because of him, but just the situation. My bust is going to be Devon Achane. Projections are still really high, and it's somebody you have to play. But until any quarterback not named Tua shows that they can actually operate that offense.
Bad.
Yeah,
so bad.
I mean, you have to start Achane and you have to start Tyreek, but you definitely have to temper, just completely abandon all expectations. Just hope that you don't get a goose egg and call it a win. But I think Achane's still projected 13 or 14, maybe 15 in our league. And he could get it just with a bunch of dump downs, but until a different quarterback shows they can do something there, I'm not going to feel good about them at all. So he'll be my bust. My sleeper, which I don't know if it's going to technically count as a sleeper. I'm only going to put it as a sleeper because I think he's going to finish with 35 points, and nobody's projected that. So that means he's just going to exceed projections by 20 points. And I'm going to pick George Kittle. I think this is definitely going to be a 12 catch, 150 yards, 4 touchdown game. We can't cover tight ends. We've proven that. Even Kyle Pitts had a 60-yard catch against us, and he doesn't catch. So I think George Kittle's just going to absolutely be the overall number 1 player in fantasy this week. It's one of those win-win. If he obliterates us, hey, I get the win here. If he sucks, then hopefully that means the Chiefs get the win there. So kind of strategic on that one, but I would be a little extra giddy if I had Kittle in my lineup this week.
Yeah, I did not see that coming from you at all, honestly. So, hey, yeah, do you think he's going to have a huge game? That still constitutes going over his projections. So I'm going to go with Bucky Irving as my sleeper this week. They're playing Baltimore. I'm bound to get one of the Tampa Bay running backs right. Right?
No. He's going to be out.
Yeah, right. If you have Bucky Irving, I wouldn't put him in your lineup this week because he's more likely going to be out. No.
Luckily for me, I dropped him in a league, so thank you.
So, yeah, he's going up against Baltimore, but I still think there's some stuff to be had by Bucky. He's showing pretty good signs this season that he's definitely the better runner of the two running backs. So yeah, that's who I'm going with. And then my sleeper, I'm going to go with Cortland Sutton. I think it's going to be a big game tomorrow for him. He's going to show that he's wide receiver 1 in Denver.
Wait, hold on. Your bust is Bucky?
Oh, shit. I guess I was picking 2 sleepers this week, boys.
Yeah.
How about that?
Like, okay.
No. Yeah, no. Sorry. My bust this week's actually going to be Lamar Jackson. So I'm having that reverse. So I think the Bucs are going to, surprise some people. They're playing with some swag. I know that, they kind of folded there a little bit, but I think their defense is going to be able to contain it. It's going to be really tough with Vita Vea being right there in the middle. I'm really hoping to see a Vita Vea Derrick Henry collision, just because that would be awesome. That's a lot of man going at one another. So that's what that's what I'm going with this week.
Yeah, man. I almost picked Derrick Henry as my bust because of strictly Vita Vea. But then I got in my mind, like, what's been the most successful play for Derrick Henry, and it's been that, like, weak side toss. So that's what they can kind of do to, like, neutralize the run game away from him. So that's kind of what steered me away from that. But we had kind of the same thought process on this.
We did. I love Vita Vea right there. Lamar typically does take off up the middle if needed. He'll get to the outside, obviously, on some. I don't feel good about this one, but at the same time, it's one of those where it could happen. So that's the whole point of just this fantasy football. Anything can happen. So that was going to wrap up this week. Again, thank you to all the new listeners. Please find us on Instagram at Shovicks Sports. Follow us, comment on our stuff. If there's things that you want to hear us talk about, or you want to come on the show and chop it up, we talk anything. It doesn't have to necessarily be football. If you want to talk about some baseball, some off-season stuff, well, come talk some baseball with us. We'll do it. You want to talk some college basketball, some college football? Hit us up. Find us on Apple, Spotify, iHeart. Videos drop on YouTube on Saturdays. Until next week, we'll talk to you guys then.